Hey everyone, we are back today with another qualifier match in our All Cells tournament. This one is going to be featuring Sigma and Raziel, two of the top runners in the tournament. My name's Rory Rai. I'm joined today by Aiko. How are you doing, Aiko?
I'm doing great. I'm real excited to watch this match of All Cells, No Restrictions. As you mentioned, this is a qualifier race, and so while Sigma and Raziel are competing against each other, they're also competing against themselves in a way. The qualifier format we have is that there are going to be 21 of these races held. Not all of them will be restreamed, but each runner can participate in up to 7, and their top 3 times are used as an average for seeding going forward. So these runners are going to be trying to get consistent low times so that they can lower their average and improve their seeding for the second phase of the bracket, or the bracket phase.
That's right, and we already have a number of averages on board for this qualifier phase. Sigma and Raziel currently hold the top 2 seeds. Sigma with a 38.46 average and Raziel with a 40.15 average. Those are both incredible times to put up.
Yeah, those are very good. Sigma, for reference, has the I believe second place spot on this leaderboard is one of 2 people in the world who's ever gotten a 37 in this category. This is definitely going to be a very interesting race. We would say that I think Sigma has the advantage, but it's still, especially in out of bounds categories like this, where mistakes can cost you a lot of time, as you may have to go to a backup save, and especially runners of this caliber aren't going to go for as many safety backup saves. These out of bounds tricks that require saves in them could definitely see some crazy lead change.
Yeah, and it looks like we're getting kicked off right now. We do actually have 6 runners in this qualifier, but again, we're just focusing on Sigma and Raziel for today.
Yep. So we're going to get started. The early game is very similar to if you watched our recent all skills, no out of bounds, no teleport anywhere tournament. The early game is very similar. You spawn in the same place because we are still playing Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition, and we're going to do basically the same things at the very start of the game. We're going to see both these runners head left, and they're going to pick up sign so that they can interact with the world by destroying them. Because that's really what interaction is all about. Destruction.
That's definitely the lesson that we want to learn here in this early game. But yeah, the early game of all cells, very, very similar to all skills, because it turns out that we actually need to be able to move around the map in order to collect the cells. And moving around the map involves collecting most, but not all, of the skills.
Yep. There are some skills that we need because they let us interact with things like enemies, that's sign, things like walls, that's wall jump, we'll be going to wall jump next. Then there's skills that we get because they let us go fast and do tricky things like dash. And then there's skills like we'll see later like charge flame that we just get because we need to be able to level abilities. And you see both these runners with an excellent Frankie fight, not having to stop holding right at all, just pacing their shots perfectly. And that will allow them to not lose any time there and continue in their glade.
Yep, and there's not a whole lot to sort of go over in this early game, so I just want to sort of mention that we've seen a couple, we're going to see a couple cell pickups in this early game, but it may seem like, yeah, there's 60 of these. They come really slowly in this early game. They're going to come way, way faster in the late game. The early cells that we get are just for resources.
Yep, and you'll actually see we will skip some cells that wouldn't take much time now, but in fact are even faster to get later. We're actually coming up on the first one of those, but first we're going to do this ghost door, put keys in the door, save, die, and then the door is invisible, and then the loading animation starts. It's a little weird, but it is much faster. And yeah, we'll see both these runners skipping that 4th health cell that you see most all skills runners take. And the reason you skip it here is because unlike in all skills where you just need to get 5 or a total of 3 health cells and it doesn't matter where, in all skills you need to get every skill, every cell. So when we come back for the other cells, it is faster to get that 4th health cell then.
That's right. This category has a number of revisits in the late game. There's several areas that we're going to go through, but we don't have the movement skills to efficiently collect everything. So we come back later on in the run in order to do that faster. And you'll notice those areas are going to be on the tracker in the inner ring. and those will light up as the runners complete the collection in those phases.
Yep, a neat little addition. So now we have our runners getting to the wall jump tree. Raziel a few seconds ahead, which is basically an insurmountable lead. It's basically over for Sigma. But luckily, this is a race where they're just trying to lower their average time, so Sigma doesn't need to feel too demoralized about this like 2-second lead that Raziel has. This is a very optimized category, so that kind of thing happens a lot.
Absolutely, but in all seriousness, there's so many places in all stages of this game that can just cause massive amounts of time loss.
Yep. But luckily we haven't been seeing that yet, and hopefully we won't be seeing much of that massive time loss at all, unless it makes things more exciting. Excitement's always great. But yeah, for now we've got our runners. They both took the same level up on the way out of wall jump. They're going to be taking the same kind of movements through here, damage boosting off the first slime, jumping over the second one, and they'll be making their way rightwards towards Blackroot Burrows, where we can get Dash, which is a great skill because it goes going fast and good. You want to game quickly.
Absolutely correct, Aiko. And before we get to Blackroot, we have the all-important Save Anywhere menu manipulation that we'll do to regain control of Ori behind the ability menu, which allows us to level up an ability point and save the game anywhere that we want. And that menu manipulation is going to be important for later as well.
Yeah, I think the I've often heard the menu storage tricks in this game, Save Anywhere being the most common, referred to as really just like a chisel that you can use to pry open the game. And here we're just using it in its simplest form, just to like skip a cutscene. The cutscene starts, you save the game tracks that the cutscene's already started. So when you reload, it's like, all right, well, guess we've already seen the cutscene. And that is how that skip works. We will use Save Anywheres to do all sorts of very silly things later, especially even more so than in a no out of bounds, no teleport anywhere category.
That's right. Save Anywhere is, of course, the basis for the best out of bounds method in this game, and we'll touch on that once we reach Misty Woods.
Yeah. For now, though, our runners are going to be touching on the orb in Blackroot. As it turns out, all you really need to do is touch it, and then it has your scent, and it's going to follow you afterwards, even if you try and leave it behind. Cunning Hunter, the Blackroot orb, but it's actually not that much of a problem because you can just pick it up, and it's literally just a circular thing, and even though it can hunt you down, it can't really do anything besides just sort of clink on the ground.
Yep, and we do actually want it to follow us because otherwise we couldn't do these platform movements that Raziel and Sigma are doing right now.
Yep. And we're going to see Raziel wait here a little bit. The reason he's going to do that is because Blackroot is a dungeon or an area of cycles, and when the cycles start depends on when the areas load in. So there's a room to the right that Raziel's waiting meant that the platforms in that room are going to line up with when he enters that room, and that will be good. If he didn't do that, the cycle would have been off a bit, and he would have not been able to get there in time. But nope, he gets there, gets on that platform, gets the cycle. Sigma following shortly behind.
That's right. And before we reach Dash, I want to touch on our experience a little bit. The experience is much... Oh no, Raziel!
Oh, no. That is a really unfortunate. Raziel falls off and has to do this entire section again. He's going to have to wait for these cycles all over again. And just like that, Sigma is going to take that lead from him. That is a real unfortunate time loss for Raziel. Not a death or anything, but might as well be, just given how far back that puts him.
Yeah, that is going to give Sigma a rather large lead in the early game, but again, early game leads don't mean a whole lot in a category where we can lose minutes off of failing a single trick.
Yep. Speaking of tricks, Sigma just did a neat little save anywhere to skip the cutscene from the orb being activated, and because of that, he is going to be able to save some time and get his dash skill, and he's going to now go with it and head down here into Lower Blackroot.
That's right, and this is where the first out of bounds category is going to come into play. Turns out, if you look at your map, we're right next to Grotto here, so we can dash over here and crouch in a very specific spot, and this boulder will just sort of push Ori out of bounds. Yep. So Sigma is going to rekindle on the ground and then go collect this health cell, and then he can rekindle again and die, and that'll reset him out of bounds, and he can just dash to the right over into Grotto.
Yep. This is why, unlike in all skills, we didn't see either runner worrying about setting up their experience for a Frankie walk. We have when you're allowed to go out of bounds, you could just sort of do this instead. And we've got Raziel doing the same trick, gets out of bounds, drops the save so that he can run up here, grab the health cell, and he will be able to follow Sigma down here towards the double jump tree.
Yep, and now pay attention to Raziel on the right as he goes for the early grotto cycle on the way in. If he makes this up, oh, yep, he can't get it.
Yep.
That is a very, very precise cycle in all cells compared to in other categories because of the direction that we come at it from.
Yeah. I mean, it's precise in all skills too. It's just in all cells it is even harder. Raziel drops down into the crushers a bit, but does not have a problem. Is going to be able to grab this keystone. Takes intentional damage from these spikes, so he can do another ghost door using this spider shot. Takes it to the face and gets that door open. Meanwhile, Sigma does a pretty good job in the blind movement on the way out of the double jump tree. He has double jump. It lets him jump a second time. Pretty much what it says on the tin. In Ori, double jump is less about verticality than it is in a lot of other games. Your second jump doesn't get you much higher than your first one, but it does give you a lot more control and movement in the air. And we're going to see that control and precise movement used here by Sigma on the left to get a nice little skip. He gets that first try, jumps around that edge, and saves about a minute of tracking around the left side of Grotto. And up, he's going to do a rekindle skip. It's very similar to what we see before. With the save anywhere, but sometimes you don't actually need to use the save anywhere for it. And you can just rekindle.
That's right, and now we're on our way up to grab the water vein, and then from there we'll be heading to Ginso to collect the sort of most iconic movement skill of the game, Dash. We're going to make some slight detours on the way for a couple of cells.
Yeah. So over on the left, we see Sigma interacting with Gumo. Gumo is, in fact, a ninja, uses shadow clones. He's got a bunch of shadow clones all through Grotto. We see one here. We'll see another one on the way up. Raz having some trouble with double jump movement. He struggled a bit with the Grotto skip trick, but has made his way up and is going to say hi to Gumo's first shadow clone, as Sigma is going to say hi to another one after grabbing a health cell past that 200 door on his way up.
That's right, and all of these Gumo clones exist, of course, because we're going through the area in reverse.
Yeah, the cutscene triggers are just a little whack because of where the we're just passing through this area in literally the opposite order, so the static assets are loaded there. But that's not what's important. What's important is that Gumo has shadow clones, and our runners are making their way to the Ginso tree to pick up Bash. And clean the element of water, of course, right? We're gonna do that. Oh.
No, in fact, that's why there's so many little detours for that early health cell. We're gonna make a couple more detours for a couple more health cells in the early game, specifically because we don't clean the water.
Oh, it's really unfortunate. All right, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking instead of cleaning the water, we should get some chlorine, right? Like chlorine will probably deal with whatever purple bacteria is going to get the problems. We can just chlorinate the water and it'll be okay. I think that should be our runner's plan.
Is that Ultra Defense brand chlorine?
It is Ultra Defense brand chlorine.
Because that is our strategy for all of the long swimming sections that we'll see in the collection phase.
Yeah. Fortunately, Ori has a chlorine allergy, so it's not going to fully protect us, but, you know, it's better than nothing. Better than nothing. Alright. Here we are in the Ginso tree. The Ginso tree is very tall, not very wide, as, you know, trees are known to be. It is wide enough that we have like about a screen of back and forth because it's a very big tree and Ori is a very small leaf. And mostly what we're going to be doing here is climbing. And we see Sigma climbing through this room where there's a bunch of teleporters on both sides and a bunch of little spiky enemies running around in circles. And a lot of stuff going on here. We've got some teleporter rooms, got to make sure not to hit spikes. And we're coming up on a puzzle room where a puzzle will not be... Yeah,
a puzzle room where we're just gonna ignore the entire room. Sigma's gonna come up here, drop a soul link, and then push this push block over on top of it, so that the soul link is out of bounds. And by rekindling and reloading, we just sort of fall through the floor.
Yeah, it just kind of like squishes you. It's like, you're not supposed to be here. Can you go down, please? Thanks. And now it's time to bully a worm. Everyone knows part of tree climbing is bullying worms. And Sigma, this is basically just a mini boss. He pops out of the ground. All we have for combat is Spirit Flame, so just gotta What really matters is how many cycles you get it in, and it's possible to get it in 3 cycles with Quick Flame, but it is very difficult. So we'll see. I think Sigma getting a nice 4 cycle there.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have Quick Flame because the early route for this category allows it, and it does save a little bit of time there. Sigma just going to come up on this Ghost Door here, and then it'll be on to Bash.
Yep, and Bash is incredible skill. It lets you, if you've ever played Ori, basically unforgettable. When you bash, you stop time, set an angle with your bash target, and you go one way and the bash target goes another. And as we'll see very quickly, there is a bug called a double bash that we take a lot of advantage of. If you bash on the frame after you release a bash, you can set your direction, and the direction of what you're bashing off of isn't going to get changed. So we're going to see Sigma do that here. He will go one way and he'll go down, the projectile will go left, so he can get that EXP and be here just in time to set up for this key dupe. Rory, what can you tell me about a key dupe?
Well, the key dupes are basically when we collect some keystones, we put those keystones in the door while we're dead, and for some reason the game puts them back in our inventory while also reloading the save. So Sigma's going to grab these 3 keystones and then die in a very specific spot on the spikes here. And he does get it.
Yeah, he gets the key dupe, no problem. He doesn't, it looked like he was going for the quick method where you land right on the spot where you die, but he actually lands in the safe zone. Does not really cost that much time at all, but, you know, it's a little thing, and enough little things could end up with Raz back in the lead. We actually saw Sigma have a bit of a problem with the double bash to get up to the save point, so Raz has that on him too. Still quite a bit of a lead for Sigma, but definitely nothing insurmountable, prior memeing aside. And yeah, Raz gets that quick setup for the key dupe that I've stuck.
And we do see a slight detour in the route here because we do need to collect this one singular cell that hides in the Gitso tree, and that prevents us from having to come back here until the very end of the run.
Yep, and really it's just a quick stop on a way somewhere else. And now, it will be easy to... Yeah.
We need to talk about warp displacement.
Yeah, warp displacement. This is one of the kind of this is what the teleport anywhere in no out of bounds, no teleport anywhere for other categories mentions. Basically, what we're going to see here. Keep your eyes on the left Sigma screen. You're going to start a teleport, regain movement, stand on a platform, and what happens is if you're on a platform that can tilt like that while teleporting, your teleport gets rotated by that same angle. So Sigma just teleported from Glades to Swamp, and he rotated that teleport down a bit, and that let him land right at that cell outside a swamp, saving a fair bit of movement and setting up a swamp entry without having to activate the Moon Grotto teleporter to get there.
Yep, and Raz goes for his warp displacement now, and he's going to get it as well and fall straight onto that cell. Places a save just for safety, and he is onto his swamp entry right behind Sigma.
Yep, Sigma got swamp entry first time, same trick as it is in all skills. Basically, you're just going to want to bait the Froggy shot once, or not Froggy, but Frog shot once, and then get the second one up, and hopefully it doesn't phase through the wall, and it doesn't. Raz is through. He is right behind Sigma on the path to the Stomach tree.
That's right, this early game, just that little bit of a deficit for Raz from falling off of that platform. Otherwise, there's been no real major mistakes on either side, which is great.
Yeah, definitely great to see. Of course, the late game or mid and late game, this category is going to change what it looks like a lot, as these runners are going to be doing lots of high resource movement across the map, and that is going to be a treat to see. But now, oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, speaking of movement, the double bash chain has the advantages of letting Ori follow the thing that you're double bashing. So Sigma using that to get the fish up to an energy cell.
Yep, and because of that, we won't have to come back and revisit Swamp. That double bash chain is takes some practice, but it's definitely worth it because the alternatives are all much slower. You have to either Terra clip into Swamp that way, or like to add that energy cell, or you have to come back, and both of those options are much slower.
Yep, and so we're doing a little bit of a small loop around the right side of Swamp here for Sigma because there's a couple cells over here, and we do actually need these ability cells and health cells because, as we mentioned, we're not cleaning the water, and we have to get ultra defense before our swimming section.
Yep, going to need that chlorine to avoid just totally dying in those bacteria-ridden waters. So we've got Sigma grabbing this ability cell. He's also going to stomp this peg. Remember this, in about 10 minutes, it's going to be important. But for now, it's just going to play a cutscene. We're going to move on with our lives, and Sigma is going to go through here, grab another one of those health cells, because as you mentioned, we really do need to be able to take some really obnoxious long swims, so we can't get this later.
Yep. Looks like Raz almost catching up here. He's not too far behind anymore.
Yeah, he's been slowly regaining time on Sigma, and they're at about a 27, or exiting Swamp, there was about a 27 second delta between them, thanks to our truck for keeping track of those time deltas. But yeah, now Sigma is going to go grab Charge Flame, and Charge Flame is great because, well, we don't really use it, but Charge Flame is great because you need Charge Flame to get Air Dash and Charge Dash, and both of those are very great things.
Yes, Charge Flame would not be gotten if we could get those skills without it. But yeah, we do need it, and because we have it, we'll probably see it get used a little bit later on, but it's not nearly as important as the skills that it unlocks.
Yep.
So a little bit of trouble with that Frankie.
Yep. He does get it where he wants it though. We saw Sigma skip the cutscene at the Spirit Tree. He lies, liar. We don't want his false truths. Actually, mostly we just don't want the time wasted. Even if that cutscene wasn't like misleading, it would be slower to watch it, so we don't. But ooh, Sigma having a little trouble getting up through this shaft quickly. Was, I think, going for a bit of a rocket jump initially, but did not get it, and now he is just going to head up into Valley normally, and he's going to do a couple cool things here. He's going to take a rocket jump, which is a canceled charge dash for a lot of aerial momentum, and ooh, takes a few hits from the birds, but does get the cool setup where you rocket jump and then stomp, and the bird follows you up, and you break the wall. Now we're going to see Stompless.
It's always nice to have charge dash in this area because we can do some neat things. But right now, Sigma's going to take a spider shot, throw it off to the side, and come on over here. The spider shot's in time. It'll grab an ability cell while the first spider shot hits those rocks, teleports into the cutscene.
Yep,
Raz also coming up on that same trick.
Yep, it is a cool trick, saves a bunch of time. A lot of the time saved in that trick is actually just that while the shot is traveling, you get to pick up that cell, and you have to do the first part of the movement pretty quickly. The entire trick's on a timer and has a lot of moving parts, but it's a very important trick that a lot of people practice. And oh no, Raz misses the shot. That is real unfortunate. He'll have to go over and either take another shot or go stomp it. But oof, that is going to be a many second time loss. And he actually decides that instead of trying to get the shot, he is going to go over and stomp it.
That is not an easy trick to line up. There's a couple visual cues that we can use, but they're not necessarily the easiest to hit. Sigma, meanwhile, into Sorrow, heading over to the left side, there is an energy cell and an ability cell over here that we have to pick up. So he's going to rocket hop up to this lever so that we can get to that ability cell, and then there's an energy cell directly above it.
Yep, and there's also a boulder which Sigma is going to use to push himself out of bounds here. This is actually a cool new trick found by someone who was just playing the game casually, and then we discovered that we could use it to save some time here. It's a pretty recent addition to the run. We will see Sigma showing that off soon enough. He's going to grab that boulder, going for a pretty precise setup where he just starts it rolling, and then we'll see if he gets it right where he wants it. Meanwhile, Raziel has gotten his Sorrow Bash, and Sigma is just trying to get the positioning on that rock just right, so it will just sort of, nudge him out of bounds, and then he'll do some dashes and sort of glide up through these spikes because there's wind beneath the wall, because, I mean, why not?
Why not? And Sigma onto charge. So, charge jump, very useful, lets us go up really fast. First thing that we're going to do is use it to go up and grab another ability cell, and then just make our way out of Sorrow.
Yep, grabbing a few cells in Sorrow on the way down, but this will really be our one trip into Sorrow. We do not need the Sunstone. It's lame dungeon key, and also there's a cutscene you have to skip, and it takes time to get to, so just won't. We'll find some other way into Horror. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Raz going for his boulder out of bounds right now. Doesn't get it. Decides to reset the save, or rather than just bash the boulder down. Meanwhile, Sigma just a couple more cells to collect in this area. Health cell over here to the left, and then an abilities. Raz gets his boulder out of bounds. He just has to make it through the spikes.
And he is through. Alright, that was definitely a bit of time loss. Unfortunate, but he is through now and is going to be able to get charge jump and then follow Sigma into Misty Woods, which is a place that has some stuff, but really all we care about in Misty Woods is there is a ability cell and a place where you can head to Forlorn.
Yes.
We're going to do those things.
There is one ability cell about a third of the way into the area, and then the end of Forlorn is right after that, believe it or not. And we're going to reach that by doing a little neat out of bounds known as a Terra Clip. And the way that a Terra Clip works is by using a save anywhere to regain control of Ori behind the menu. We can do what's called a hyperspeed, where we save while dashing, and then that will preserve Ori's speed. Sigma's going to set up the hyperspeed right there. Now he's going to come over to the left, unloading that wall that he saved next to, and he'll die in these spikes. When he respawns, the hyperspeed will send him out of bounds because he loads in before the wall does.
Yep. And then he's just gonna take a sweet travel through this this gray void expanse, which, you know, just one of those gray void expanses. Y'all know how those are. It's really just like area on the map where there's nothing there, but that doesn't really stop us from traveling through there. And because Misty is above Forlorn, you can just sort of drop down from there into here. And now we're in Forlorn, and Sigma is going to be able to grab the singular cell that is here. It is another health cell. And now he's going to leave.
And Sigma, on the way out, you may know if you have played through Forlorn casually, there's some doors that we can't open from this side because they're expected to be open. So instead, we're going to do another Terra Clip. He's going to set up that right here and come down and die to these lasers. And he is through first try. He's going to hold up this save anywhere so that he can do another teleport and save at the same time just to regain his energy. We're heading to Blackroot to collect a grenade.
Yep, and the best way to get to Blackroot is going to be the Glade Teleporter, which is right outside. Just going to head in, and obviously if you want to go to Grenade, what you should do is you should go over here to the left of Blackroot, grab this cell that Sigma did not need to grab earlier, but yeah, we're gonna do more Terra Clips. That is how you get into Blackroot. I was gonna take going to get low on those spikes because they deal more damage, but he does need to head over into this other room to unload that room. And yeah, now we are here at the grenade tree, and yeah,
Terra Clips are great.
They're pretty good for skipping content. If you want to do less things and to go more places, Terra Clips are the solution for you.
Yes, and they do work on just about any wall. All you have to do is get right next to the wall without touching.
Yeah. And it really works basically almost everywhere. There are a few notable exceptions, and we'll complain as that happens because you have to do things the slow base way. But yeah, for the most part, Terra Clips are really what makes this run and these no restrictions category so interesting and unique, because the routing, due to the way the world is just laid out in Ori, you can do all sorts of real fun things. Like you could say drop from this ability cell that we're about to see Sigma get in a little while, but first he's got to throw a frog off a cliff, kill another frog, grab an ability cell, and oh, the frog didn't come back. He must have actually killed it. These frogs all deal 5 damage, and it's just incredibly rude. So anytime you can kill one of these frogs, it's very good. They deserve it.
But he's going to grab this ability cell and set up for yet another Terra Clip here. There's a fight room below us that we don't really want to do. So Sigma just going to place the Terra Clip save, come all the way up here and die to these spikes, and then he'll just fall down and he's going to drop down and land on this floor before lighting the lantern to start some loading so that we don't fall into a load zone here.
Yep. And with that last Terra Clip, he has gotten his chlorine, so this water is only going to deal half as much damage. Chlorine allergy means it's not free, but he is not going to be taking full dirty water damage. And that will be true for the rest of the game, which is nice because there are a few other underwater pickups that he's still going to have to get. These long swims, as we call them.
It's this one, then we have one shorter swim and one very long swim. Sigma makes it out beautiful. 1 health remaining.
Entire health, so you know it's fine. He's not going to bother saving. He knows he's good. And we have some methods that we could use to get out of this Lost Grove area, and it's going to be Terra Clips. We're doing Terra Clips.
Oh no! Raz taking another death on the right, all the way down close to the Terra Clip into Lost Grove, and he goes all the way back to the Grenade Tree.
Ooh, that really hurts. That is that like almost a minute? That is a big death, and he is definitely not going to be happy about that. But yeah, on our left we saw Sigma. He actually does a Terra Clip or two, and he gets up out of Lost Grove, and it actually comes out in this lower grotto for energy door area, where there is an energy cell and an ability cell that Sigma skipped the first time through this area because it is faster to do it this way.
That's right, and if anyone's confused about how all of these out of bounds tricks are working, I would recommend if you have the game, just pull up the game and open up the map and just look at where the areas are positioned next to each other, because a lot of these areas are very close to each other on the map. They just don't connect, and we use that to our advantage to slip through a wall and then fall into another area.
Yep. And this is an important rule that we are actually going to touch on a couple times. When you're building a bridge, you should only give it collision on the top, so if someone gets stuck below, they can come up through it. Whenever I'm building bridges, physical, metaphorical, digital, only collision on the top. You got to let people pass upwards through your bridges. Otherwise, the speedrunners will be sad, and also people who get trapped under your bridges.
Yep. Unfortunately, even though bridges can be passed through... Oh! Ooh. That was almost bad, but it's okay. The bramble is still alive. That bramble is really important for a trick called Butterclip. We're going to grab this ability cell and this health cell. Again, just finishing up cell collection areas, and then just bash off the bramble and... Oh look, we're through a wall and into some water.
Yep, and I actually really like that Sigma placed a save right before he bashed off of it. Those brambles have two bashes worth of health, and they don't respawn. But now Sigma is able to leave this area because of that peg we stomped about 10 minutes ago, or he stomped about 10 minutes ago, just coming through this area. And now he can do cell cleanup here. He's got fast movement, and he's got grenades. There are 2 cells in this area that are grenade locked. Because of that, it's not really feasible to do these cells, get this stuff the first time you come through Hollow Grove. So on a revisit, Sigma has opened both the doors to the ability cells and can now grab them both.
And this area is where the movement really starts to pick up. Grove is a very large section of the game, but we have lots of charge dashes, rocket jumps, and a million energy at this point, thanks to Ultra Magnet
and all the energy cells we collected. Frankly, one pretty cool thing about this being all cells category is that we have to get all the energy cells, so might as well use them, right? And Sigma's showing that off with a bunch of really sweet uncancelled charge dashes. Now we're going to go into Horror Field, an area that's received a lot of excitement and rerouting as more Terra Clip opportunities have been discovered. We will see Sigma showing that off here, I believe. He's not doing it here.
No, you have to open that door. Otherwise, you're really, really sad because you're stuck inside. So
yeah, actually,
sets up a Terra Clip and just falls through right onto this ability cell. He's going to come over to the left here because there's another. It's not a bridge, but it's a log. And guess what? It doesn't have a collision from underneath.
Yeah, very good civil engineering here. Just real proud of Nibel. There's lots of Nibel is very dangerous. Do not build your cities or anything really with all these lasers. But you can come through the platforms from below. That's important. Very nice because it allows that particular reroute, which is very cool. Now we're going to see Sigma do something cool. You can, if you charge dash into those like swarm enemies, the like small things that they divide into they fly upwards, which allows you to immediately rocket dash.
Yeah, and Sigma is now heading towards Valley to clean up that area, and he's going to get there with another warp displacement.
Yep. Going to take his teleport from Glades to Valley and rotate it just a bit to end up on this, just in the wall here, so that he can get over to this ability cell, which is sort of a pain to get otherwise. So it's nice that there is a warp displacement method to get that. And now, go for it.
Alright, Raz, meanwhile, a few minutes behind now, but he's gotten through his butterclip. He's about to reach the movement, the section where the movement really picks up in Grove.
Yep. Meanwhile, Sigma is grabbing this one ability cell that's behind a grenade door on the way to Forlorn. He C-dashes a little bit too early, so he goes the other way, but that's fine. He has so much energy and is really on a great pace here. Definitely having a run that he will be very happy with. He's going to go up here, grab the Cursed 3-bird cell, and he's going to make his way for another very long swim.
Yeah, this is the last really long swimming section that we have, but we have to go all the way down here to this energy cell, but we have all but one health cell at this point in the game, so there's not really any danger.
Yep. Except for, the crushers that will kill you instantly. Those are technically dangerous, but you just don't get hit by them and you're fine.
Yep, we have all the health in the world to just sit and wait.
Yep. And just waiting, obviously, much better than dying. Highly recommend waiting instead of dying if those are your options, just in general.
Yeah, so only one more area for Sigma to complete after that, and that is the very first area in the game, Glades.
Yep. And now we will go back to that health cell that I mentioned, that 4th health cell. Not quite yet, it's going to be one of the last things we pick up, but first, Sigma's going to take a rocket jump up here, head over here, hit this grenade switch, and get what many people call the Grenadezer, which is the grenade pickup above Laser, above Gladezer, which is the laser pickup in Glades. There's an ability cell above, and then down here below there is this energy cell. Sigma is going to break the crystal for some energy and run over here to grab that ability cell.
Yeah, so at this point there's just... Oh! It's okay. That's why we save here. Because this laser is not fun.
Yeah, that laser will kill you. Lasers and Ori generally will kill you, but yeah, that was the last, second to last energy cell. Sigma just grabbed the last health cell and is going to take our last dip in this chlorinated water to grab the last, second to last energy cell, yeah.
There is one final energy cell, and it is all the way in the top right room of Mount Horu. How the heck are we gonna get there?
Well, I can think of, it's warp displace. Warp displace there. Or wait, no, I lied. We're gonna warp displace.
We're gonna warp displace to the Terraclip to get there. The
really,
this game has so many tricks right back to back.
Yep. So we see Sigma going to warp displace. He's heading to Ginso. The Ginso tree is very tall, and because it's very tall, it means we can get, if we could get out of the Ginso tree via some method, and it's a Terraclip, we could then use that to traverse downwards and as horizontally as we can with our ability points to a lot of places, and the place we are going to go for here is that R1 energy cell.
And now Sigma's going to be doing something where you'll see him level a save, a bunch of abilities. What happens while you're out in the void is that every second there's a timer that'll reset you to your last save, so we just use a save anywhere, and that'll keep us moving through the void and into R1 to collect that last cell.
Yep, he does a great job of that, makes his way here, takes a bit of damage on spikes, which is good because he actually needs to be damaged, and he's going to set up for, oh man, what is it going to be, Raz? Or Rory?
It's probably not a Terraclip. No, it's Terraclip.
Oh, it's a Terraclip again? Gosh, alright, so yeah, this is another Terraclip to get to the other side of that tree, and then he's just going to jump up to here through a bit of void, and oh look, it's the final escape water, and
it's time for fish traps. We can rocket jump off of this fish. I promise that there is a fish if you're having trouble seeing behind the screen, and we are through the end of the escape. He levels an ability to skip the cutscene, similar to how a grenade jump would in all skills, and is on to the end. He just has to hold right now.
Yep, and that is going to be GG to Sigma. Definitely going to be a very good time. That is going to be a low 38, which is an incredible time. Raziel, meanwhile, is behind, but still doing very good. He's probably like, I don't know, a minute, maybe 2 behind.
He's not far behind. The very last stages of Blade's cleanup here.
Yep. That is, yeah, we're going to see him do. Oh, interesting. He's doing this Glazer movement with the save anywhere up. I haven't. Oh, he does these things in a slightly different order. That trick he did there is really interesting. That is the only place in the game where we know that happens. But if you have a save down in the Glazer area, instead of when you reload the game, or not when you reload, but when you respawn, the game will just put you up above it as sort of what we think is like sort of a soft lock prevention from like dying and respawning in the laser repeatedly. But that's the only place in the game where it happens, and it is unclear as to why.
Ori things. But
fine.
Raz just has this one last cell to collect outside of the final R1 ability or energy cell. And he's going to come down here, head towards Ginso, and then his own Terra Clip into Horu.
Yep. So we'll see him do the same thing, get over onto that bobbing platform, and rotate his save. He does end up basically exactly where he wants to be, which is great. Definitely good to end up where you want to be, much better than ending up where you do not want. Would recommend that.
For that warp displacement, if you're a little bit too far to the left on the platform, Ori doesn't tilt far enough, and you'll end up stuck in the wall.
Yeah, definitely do not want to get stuck in the wall. There's really all sorts of funny and really, I mean, tragic also ways that a warp displacement can fail, because if your angle is off by just a bit, the teleport is a very long vector, so it can definitely put you into very unintended places, but he's fine. And he is going to get, oh man, that's actually a really nice setup for the void movement. He comes right out at that energy cell, and now he is going to be setting up for his version of these last few Terra clips. And that, I mean, it's not, yeah, but it definitely is like a little frustrating to get thrown off your rhythm by these insta kill. So that was the hitbox of the these little like stomp elevators have a hitbox under them that's supposed to kill you, and it's really only supposed to trigger on the way down. But y'all know how collision can be. Yep.
Sure does. Raz doing his final Terra clip here, just dies in these spikes and is off to the left side of this tree. Not quite. His save is fine, but there is a void timer right there, so you have to stomp really quickly. And he's going to charge jump and save to get into the final swim, and then go for his own fish strats.
Yep, and we will see. And oh, actually interesting, he does not have an ability point to do the save cutscene skip that we saw Sigma going for, so he's going to have to watch a bit more of the final cutscene. That's how I believe that ends up working, but that's fine.
Yep,
still a great run from Raz, and going to be good.
Yeah, that is still a solid time, all things considered. Considering you missed that final cutscene skip, he does have to watch Ori get up very slowly. This is what we saw Sigma skip with that save anywhere at the end.
Yep. This is just there are a couple different ways of skipping this kind of thing. In the no out of bounds categories, you can, if you have the skills for grenade jump, you can do a grenade jump. In any category where you can come in with a save anywhere and an ability point, you can skip it. But sometimes you have to use a backup ability point to do one of the tricks efficiently. And I didn't quite see which ability point it was that Raz spent, but definitely still able to complete this, and that is good.
Yep, just holding right with the Naru movement. This is going to be a mid 42 for Raz.
Yep.
Which, that is not going to affect his average. We do only average the top 3 times that a runner has put up. So a little bit of Naru movement here. Jumping with Naru is actually slower, but it doesn't matter for Raz because his average isn't affected by it.
Yep, and sometimes when you have a run like that and there are mistakes, you want to let off a little steam, especially when you know that this isn't going to be in your top 3, so it won't affect your time. Might as well put on a little bit of a show. But definitely what we saw here, Raziel's final time is going to be 43:02, and that is... Oh, actually, his timer kept running a little bit. You're seeing from SRL, his final time was 42:45, which is not what he was shooting for probably, but still definitely very good, all things considered.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the times that people should be afraid of. But speaking of people to be afraid of, Sigma has now put up 438 in his 4 qualifier rate.
Yeah, that's Sigma very good at this video game. I would definitely say that little pretty spooky there.
Sigma is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with moving on into the bracket. Of course, only the top 8 runners in these qualifier races are going to advance.
Yep, and we have qualifiers are going to continue through next weekend, I think.
Yeah, there's another week of qualifiers, and at that point we will be starting our top 8 bracket.
All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for this cast here. I want to throw out a big thanks to everyone who helped put this on. Poogle and Nightfinder helping feeding us stats, Shed on the restream, and of course Rory helping me commentate.
Yep, and also to IMRaziel and Sigma for letting us restream and putting on a great show.
Yep.
So we will keep everyone posted in the Ori and the Blind Forest speedrunning Discord as to the date of any more potential qualifier broadcasts and the rest of the tournament, and we will definitely be broadcasting every match once we get to the bracket stage. So stay tuned if you're interested in following the rest of the tournament. But with that, we are going to sign off, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day.